So, a few days before Christmas, Hikita decided to release this. However, as it was Christmas time, I didn't get a chance to cover it. But I'm sure none of you watching actually really care all too much about what I was doing for Christmas, and I'm sure you'd much rather me discuss whether this new update is really that good or not. And in order for us to do that, we need to go over what the update actually is. Welcome to the Violent Night update. Released on the 20th of December, this update contains a wealth of new additions. If I quickly go over the less important things, we now have the ability to add custom music to the Cybergrind, and there's also one new music track, a God mode cheat, which I don't know why that got added in, but it's cool anyway. Some quality of life stuff, which I'm not going into detail with because it's kind of boring. And a few more things that aren't really that interesting, so I'm not talking about it. But yeah, anyway, I think it's time that we talk about what everyone actually clicked on this video for, the new layer. Is it good? Let's find out. So, the new layer is called Violence, and it's the first layer of the new episode called Godfist Suicide, which sounds like a metal band name. I feel like I say this an awful lot in videos. A lot of game developers accidentally create really cool metal band names. It consists of 4 levels, and with each level it somehow manages to keep itself really unique. The first level is probably the most basic in terms of visuals. I mean, it's just a big white place. But of course it's still pretty cool. In fact, I do really like the way it works with Ultrakill's blood splatters, as it lets you see the destruction that you've left behind in the arena once you've finished murdering everything. Next up we have this level that really reminded me of the Blitz from World War II, which for those of you who aren't aware is the bombing of the United Kingdom by the Germans from 1940 to 1941. The reason it made me think of this was mostly the air raid sirens, the searchlights, and the gigantic Big Ben that eventually gets bombed and falls over, which makes for a really cool combat arena inside the remains of what once was Big Ben. Next up is probably my favourite level in terms of visuals. It has this really creepy atmosphere to it. The goal through the level is to find these big trees and feed them. Well, by feed them you have to kill these red things that look like someone out of Super Hot, and I assume they're made out of blood. You know, going with Ultrakill's whole blood thing. The only real problem I had with this level was near the end. It was kind of confusing on where I actually had to go, as it felt like they tried to introduce a lot more backtracking than there was previously in Ultrakill, which was fine at times, but sometimes did kind of give me flashbacks to TNT Evolution. But when I did make my way back to where I was actually supposed to be going, it made for one of the best fights in the entire game. Finally, the last level, it takes place on a giant robot. I think it's called the Earth Remover. This level honestly is really interesting. I've not really seen much like this before in many games, fighting off its defense systems and also the other enemies that you've met throughout the game, who we'll talk about soon, don't worry. Eventually, once you've fought through all that, you make it to what I assume is this thing's brain or its heart or something, and it's kind of the most lacking boss fight I've ever had. I didn't like it. However, once we complete that bit, we do have to do the segment where we escape the robot before it blows up. This was really cool. However, this group of enemies here did give me a massive frame drop for some reason. I don't know why. I have a very good computer and it's more than capable of handling a game like Ultrakill, so I feel like this is on part due to the game. But anyway, wouldn't it be a bit boring if there wasn't any new enemies to discuss? Well, like I said a minute ago, we are going to talk about them, but we're going to talk about them now. Okay, so there isn't a massive amount of enemies that have been introduced during this, but the ones that are here are really good in my opinion. The first one we meet is the Mannequin, who gives us one of the best moments in the game, which is both funny and also pretty creepy at the same time. He's really fast, he crawls around up the walls and ceilings and stuff, and he throws the same projectiles that the Mind Flayer throws at you, just a bit slower. They are often seen in groups and it makes them a bit of a pain to deal with a lot of the time. I haven't really figured out a proper strategy for getting rid of them. Next up we have the Gutterman, who feels like a mix of the Big Daddy from Bioshock and Scorch from Titanfall 2. Basically a big chain gunner who is really slow, and he also has a shield. If you use the... what's it called? the hand explodey thingy. If you use that, then it breaks his shield, and in terms of his main attack, it kind of just follows you around. It's a never-ending stream of bullets, and it tracks you, however it moves pretty slowly, so you'll only really get hit if you start moving, or if you make a pretty big mistake. However, it can be a bit of a pain when they are in groups. Next up is the Gutter Tank, who is literally from Titanfall. Bro looks like he's about to go uphold Procore 3. But yeah, he's the Gutterman, but red, and he has a rocket launcher, and he can lay down mines, which are another new addition to this game. Again, like most of the enemies in this game, when they're in groups they are even worse, because it just means the arena is going to be covered in mines everywhere. But to answer the question from earlier, is this new set of levels good? Yes, and I highly recommend you play it if you haven't already. Of course there's still a few problems with it, but they're not really that big. But if you want more Ultrakill content from myself, then I highly recommend you watch the video appearing right here,